Welcome to Tales from the Tables with your hosts, Rob Bradley,
John Charles Ceccarelli,
and James Burrows.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Tales from the Tables. Woo!
15 already. Whoop, whoop.
I mean, I know we keep doing the
Crazy.
milestones every episode, but it's just going bonkers, isn't it? Before you know it's gonna be 20, the next thing you know it's gonna be 100, and oh man,
I know.
Yeah.
That's when we're famous right there. That's
Exactly.
that's the milestone.
Yeah. How you guys doing? You well?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good week
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah,
Well, I say so far. It's Thursday.
it's Thursday. Yeah, pretty much the entire week. No, it's been good. No, it's yeah.
Rock on. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Same. Pretty.
You both
fun.
stood on your tiptoes looking at the weekend.
Yes.
Well, I did actually do something interesting last weekend. So, and then this weekend I'm doing something interesting again. So,
Oh, yeah?
Ooh,
I went
regale us.
What are you up
last
to?
week. This is something that probably will not be of interest to many of our listeners. Actually, I went to an NFL game on Sunday in London. So that was cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was
awesome.
it? Who played?
Jacksonville Jaguars, which I realise I'm saying differently to how anyone who supports that team.
Jaguars.
Jaguars.
We think Jaguars here in the States.
Oh, really?
And they were playing.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Atlanta
on behalf of all
Atlanta
of us.
Falcons.
Atlanta
nice.
Falcons. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
So neither of which are my team, but I supported Jags because they were the home team at Wembley. So we had
Sure.
all their merch was everywhere. So I got a little foam finger and a flag, and I was waving it around.
Sweet.
Having a grand old time. Yeah.
Did you have like a gigantic hot dog?
Yep, a gigantic
Yeah,
hot dog, some
sweet.
Nice.
chicken wings,
Best.
Bucket
yeah.
of Coca-Cola?
No, although I did have 2 large rum and cokes. So
There we go.
and they
We
were
get them in
big.
IVs now, Rob. They just put the put
really?
the beer and the Coke directly into your blood vessels.
The only thing I did miss
Sweet.
is I didn't have those glasses with the beer cans and the hats with the beer cans and the
Oh,
straw.
you need the hats.
yeah,
I
yeah, right.
wanted one of
yeah,
those.
right.
They weren't selling them, I think, for
Oh.
good reason. Because the
I
English.
feel like you'd be the only person to have ever looked good in a beer can hat.
I don't think that's the case, but thank you.
Oh man! I tell you what, it's funny. It's America. The difference between America and England in terms of like our sporting events is so interesting. Like you look at like football, it's like or soccer as obviously as the Americans call it.
Mm.
You go to a soccer game, it's like you have a pie, and maybe you'll have a pint, and that's about it. You know, like, it's like
Yeah.
proper grassroots football. Where
I
I'm
would
from,
like-
it's pasties. You have a
I would
pasty
like
and a pint.
beigest food possible, covered in
Yeah.
a sauce that is
Scotch.
similarly beige, and I would like to
Bovril.
drink something yellow with it.
Oh, lovely imagery.
When I was
Yeah,
in when I was in LA a few years ago, we went to a Dodgers game, and we bought the cheapest tickets we could get. So we were right in the cheap seats. We could hardly even see what was going on, and from what I gathered, nothing was really happening. And
Well, it's baseball, yeah.
yeah,
Nothing
baseball, but
happens.
Nothing ever happens.
there was more going on with the crowd and like
Yep.
the da-da-da-da-da, all of like the whole like like these sorts of noises.
Ooh, you have it on a soundboard.
Oh, it's on a loop. Uh-oh. There you go, turn it off. There you go.
Guys, tune in for the rest of this podcast. That's all it is.
Yeah, right.
Just a soundboard.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, there
Uh,
seems to be more going on with the crowd than there was with actually the game. It was really
They need to do that because the
Really?
game
Yeah.
is that boring. I've not been to many baseball games, but the ones I've been to have never been exciting or thrilling whatsoever. They're always just kind of like, yay.
Well, I know that
okay."
as a
yeah.
child, I went to a baseball game, Boston Red Sox game, and I couldn't tell you anything about it.
But there you go.
It was so dull that my child brain has just eliminated it from my
You
memory.
remember that they
Wow.
were the Red Sox?
I remember that they were the Red Sox, and I have a hat somewhere in a drawer from that day. Luckily, the one that is adjustable and has continued to fit my head.
I would apologize to all the baseball fans, but I don't know how much of that demographic is currently listening to this podcast. So.
it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good
I
point.
think I would enjoy going to baseball with a group of friends and drinking. That
Sure. I mean that's
Like
the thing. It's
cricket.
a social event.
Yeah,
Right?
like
You're
the
not
cricket,
actually
yeah.
there for the game. You're there to like eat the food and sit in the stands and deal with the parking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I once went to the scroll darts tournament and it was in Hull. I went with my old army mates, and it was literally just carnage. It was just,
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
literally
just
just
the athletes were drinking. You
oh,
were
the
drinking.
athletes, yeah, the athletes there, they were piling back, and then everyone else was drinking, doing shots with them halfway through the games and stuff. It was just yeah, athletes, yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's amazing. Athletes in quotes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, this weekend I'm trying to do the complete opposite of going to a sporting event, which is going to the New York Renaissance Fair. I'll see if I can actually make it out there. I do have a game, like a D&D game to run this weekend, so I can't actually say for sure if I'm going to be able to get there or not, but that's my goal.
Hopefully you can.
Sweet.
I think I'm at a spa this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
It's a 2-year anniversary for me and Jade. So,
oh, lovely.
Spa time.
Congratulations.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
2 years already, crikey.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
That's
it's
flown
gone.
by.
It has. But hey, time flies when
Wow.
you're having fun.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Oh,
Got to
yeah.
stay positive.
yeah, right. I've got a game this weekend in Oxford somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Might be Banbury actually. I have to check. It's only like 2 days away. That's what the stag do, and the guy who's hired me, the best man, was like, I'd like to create a new class for the stag, so I've created the village idiot for him.
Nice.
Yeah, but I'll tell you
Brilliant.
I'll give you the stats. 1 second. Let me find
Well, I can see where this is going. I thought you'd be like, and I want you to construct a D&D drinking game, and I was like, yeah, I've done that before at a stag do.
Mhm.
It's
What's
great
your
fun.
D&D drinking game of choice?
Well, usually it's health potions, and other potions are real drinks. So if you want to
Gotcha.
use it, get it down.
Gotta take a shot.
And usually there'll be, well, not necessarily a shot. It could be like a large wine glass full of a mixture of alcohol. Shout out to John for getting on with that.
Mine's natural ones is a shot, and then if anybody else gets a natural 20, the stag has to take a shot.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I will be honest. There was a lot of the stag's been hit again, so he'll need healing. So he'll need to drink a health potion, won't he? Maybe we'll hit the stag.
yeah, right.
Since they're usually one shots, I wonder if it could go more extreme. Like you take a shot based on how much damage you deal. So if it's like, and you do it in tiers. So if you deal, like, it depends on what level you're running it at, but say it's a high level campaign. If you do 1 to 10 damage, you take 1 shot. If you deal 11 to 20 damage, you take 2 shots. This is a quick way to have this game last about 35 minutes. And that's about it. Someone's on the floor in that time immediately.
Yeah, that's
a quick way to like not have clients.
Oh, sorry. What are these village idiot stats you got?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the character's name is Wayne, and he's a village idiot level 3. He's armed with a rubber chicken.
Yep.
Does +3 to attack and does 1d4 bludgeoning damage.
Nice.
He's got his features. He's got a confetti explosion. He creates an explosion of colourful confetti in a 10-foot radius. Does no damage, but it looks spectacular. He can summon a banana peel on the ground, causing anyone who steps on it to make a dexterity saving throw or fall prone.
Brilliant.
He can summon a flock of clucking chickens to distract enemies. They have no combat abilities, but may confuse opponents.
It sounds so Fable.
He also has a ridiculous dance, so he can force a target to perform a ridiculous dance, render them unable to take any actions for 1d4 rounds.
Nice.
So yeah, he's also
it's like Tasha's hideous laughter, but it's like Tasha's
basically.
hideous dance.
Yeah. So it's got a silly hat, a bag of marbles that you can throw on the ground, and a small pouch containing 2 copper pieces.
Intelligence -2.
It's
and they're going up against mind flayers.
Yeah, his intelligence -2. He's got 0 wisdom. He's got +2 in charisma because he's a village idiot. People
right.
Yeah.
The pity charisma.
Yeah, he's got +1 on dexterity and +1 on strength, and that's it.
Such a bland thing. I love it.
That's literally it.
So the question, I guess, is
-2 on initiative as well.
Of course. So
Yeah.
what the question I guess I have is, what is the adventure planned for them at this point? Is it like a silly romp, or is it like a high stakes, you're in Avernus fighting devils kind of adventure?
He's there.
Well, so because they're only level 3, I've got them going up against goblins. But what I like to do in my stories whenever I do these sorts of things is put a little bit of a spin on it. So they're basically going to arrive in a town where there's a load of homeless people who are in the town who are asking for money, and this village idiot is going to be one of them. And basically, he's going to be like someone who's just been made redundant from his job in the mine because the mine's been taken over by goblins. So the adventurers will be like, why is there so many homeless people? Why is it going on? Like, why is there so many people out of work? And if they ask the right questions, they'll find out that the mine's been taken over. And then when they go to the mine and they start attacking the goblins or start talking to the goblins, they'll find out that actually that goblin mine, the reason why the goblins have taken over the mine is because they were kicked out of their camp by a load of orcs, and the orcs has stolen all of their ships because they were like these seafaring pirate type goblins.
Nice.
And in actual fact, they need to go and get the orcs, and then they have to bargain. They have to do some kind of political sort of agreement between the goblins and the village folk in order to reach an agreement on how they could work together. Or they could just kill the goblins and take back the mine and
take it back. Right.
Yeah.
Immediately solve one problem.
How deep they go in terms of the questions they ask and that type of thing. So that's kind of the loose idea. Yeah.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say that once they get to the orcs to tell them, hey, you got to leave where the goblin, you were going to tell them, well, actually, the orcs are only here because they were kicked out by something else or whatever it is. Some drow that showed up.
Yeah. And then the drow are actually being controlled by these devils from hell. And then the devils from hell are actually being controlled by these evil angels from hell.
Exactly. But it just keeps going and going. And where does it end? It all ends at Robert Bradley behind the computer screen.
The man behind the curtain.
Brilliant. Yeah. That sounds like fun. Actually, I was going to say, I love the idea of goblin pirates. I don't know why. I think I actually made one once, and I gave her the Harley Quinn voice. But I feel like and I was thinking about it, any race or any kind of creature that you have, if you can become a pirate, is instantly that much cooler, right? And you're never going to look at a creature and be like, oh, there's a boring creature, and then make it a pirate and still think the same thing. No, because immediately it's like, yeah, it's a pirate. How cool is that?
It's something a lot more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is cool. Yeah, I've got to try and figure out a way to get them onto a ship. I might start off the game with them on a boat and then have them they've come from their schools of learning and stuff, and now they've just basically been given a bit of money. They've got a passage. They're going to they're traveling to the Forgotten Realms, or not to the Forgotten Realms, sorry, to the Sword Coast on a ferry, and then the ferry gets what's the word? I see James is yawning.
Sorry, it's been a long week.
you
know full well I've
just
come out of an interview straight into this pretty much.
Really? How did the interview go, by the way? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm hoping that no one from my actual current job listens to this.
I was going to say.
I think we're safe.
If not, we'll know next week.
Well, I'm applying for a job at my current job as well, so it's up to them really whether they keep me.
Cool.
It's not blackmail. It's something else.
Gotta love that confidence.
Yeah, brilliant.
It would require me to get the first job to be able to say, well, give me this other job I want, or I'm leaving. So
right.
Fingers crossed, though. I think it went well. Yeah, they seemed like nice people. So
awesome.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, what would the new job be?
Same thing I'm doing. I do now in working in credit, which is very boring. So I won't talk about it any more than that. But it's working for an undersea pipeline cabling company.
Cool.
So they're feeding power cables to wind turbines. It's what they're currently working on, apparently. So yeah, green energy, good.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it sounds like an interesting logistical challenge.
Right.
All that underwater cabling.
Yeah, I've always wondered how they do stuff like that. How do you build an underwater tunnel? They must the logistics and the engineering of it are just something that escape me. But it sounds pretty cool. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. It would be. Yeah, well, best of luck, James. I hope it goes. I hope you get it.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see. I should find out fairly soon because they're wanting to do second interviews next week. So I shall probably find out tomorrow or early next week. So
Okay.
fingers crossed.
Sweet.
Yeah. Likewise over here. Fingers
How-
crossed.
At the very least, this weekend I'm going to be at Spa, so I will be relaxed and not thinking about it if I haven't heard tomorrow.
Important. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And how have both your games been this week?
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
You had Spectarium round 2 yesterday, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had we did a casino heist, and I have never seen a team so efficiently breeze through it. I'll be honest, they absolutely rampaged through.
An efficient heist. I don't even know the meaning of that term.
It didn't go exactly how they planned it. They did accidentally kill the casino owner. But other than that, they were supposed to only embarrass him and rob him. But the Dragonborn used their ice breath in a room because they were trying to steal his cane that controlled a Minotaur skeleton that was guarding the vault. And in doing so, the owner of the casino summoned some spined devils, and the Dragonborn. I don't want to say panicked, but certainly decided that I can hit all of them, so I'm going to just ice breath, and the damage roll was high enough that it just instantly wiped out the casino owner, who had like 9 hit points. I think it was like 11 damage.
The noble stat block, I see.
Yeah, noble stat block, and I figured when he was rolling for it, like he did, like they said before they went in, they were like, okay, non-lethal damage, and they were like, I do the ice breath. I was like, that is lethal. He was like, I'll be fine.
All right. Well.
And then the casino owner froze solid, toppled over, and shattered into 1,000 icy pieces.
Oh my god!
Well, there you have it. Nice.
But they got the staff, and they broke into the vault, stole everything, and managed to get out pretty effectively using the Minotaur they now controlled as a distraction. So, yeah,
great. Do you guys ever do like when your games where you've got like a recurring campaign? Do you ever do like behind the scenes? I suppose in a way, like the subtext of what could be happening behind the scenes based on the decisions that the players have made. So, for example, like James, like them killing the casino owner, there could now be a casino owner's son or daughter that's now hell bent on vengeance.
Yes,
you know, that kind of thing, or maybe the money from the casino that would have been left to the family in that person's will is now you've now like literally do you know what I mean, or maybe even a trust fund or a charity fund that he promised that money would go to. Like, is that sort of thing you guys
yeah
do?
Well, it does look like that this guy sold his soul to the devil in exchange, or to a devil in exchange for getting this casino up and running. So I feel that's probably cool. A thread to pull on. But also what I like to do with the heist sort of stuff is, once they've completed it, any like little things they missed during the heist, like, oh, actually you could have done this as well. I like to run that through with them, and then they like to be like, oh, I can't believe we missed. There was a hidden room behind the painting in area 4 or whatever. So if they miss stuff, I like to pull back and like after the game's done and be like, you know, you could have made this a lot easier on yourself if you just talked to this guy, or you just asked the right question and then found out about this, and then
I do that all the time with my players. I'm always like, yeah, that was amazing, guys. I really didn't expect you to go right up to that creature and attack it, because honestly, you could have probably just skirted this whole encounter by doing X, Y, or Z, you know, like finding the secret passage around, or actually like what you didn't realize was that it was just protecting its clutch of eggs because it's a mother or something like that. And then they're like, oh, damn it, no. You
looked in the drawers in the room before, you'd have seen the note that said about it and how to approach it, but you missed it. So it's one of those things, though, in D&D where there's so many different ways to approach things. If they had done that one thing, they'd have missed something else in doing so. Like,
it's a lot like a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. You're sounding exactly like there. What?
Still going? I think I've got
still going.
I've got 60,
making my way slowly, looting every crate.
69 hours or something in it now.
Nice.
Still on Act 3.
Oh, okay. You're a little bit farther than I am. I'm just about done with Act 2.
So I'm on Act 1 still. I've just like, literally not picked it up. Like every now and then, as soon as I pick it up, I start playing it. I'm like, I just hear this voice being like, Rob. Rob. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. What? Can you do that? Bring the washing in from the, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
1 second.
yes.
I swear to God, she thinks I go to work to like relax. It's kind of what I do.
Wow.
It's the definition of when,
Mhm.
as soon as you sit down, they're like, "Ooh, could you get me at this?" You know, you're like, "Oh, oh I was just standing."
Yeah, it's
Just as you
exactly.
get into bed. Could you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh well.
Just go downstairs and get me that thing. It's in the cupboard. That's in the thing. And you're just like, I'm like, and you're literally like on your pillow, snuggled in. You know, your eyes are closed. You've even done that noise you make just before you fall asleep, where you think it's a snore and it wakes you up.
Yep.
And like,
Is that what that sounds like?
like,
Now we all know you actually turn
Well.
into a zombie as you start falling asleep.
pretty much.
It's a wonder we're not single, Rob, based off those
Yeah,
noises
right.
alone.
I have no idea how I've managed that. Hey ho. So,
Brilliant.
James, any news from the RPG world this week?
Yes. So, it would appear that Penguin Random House is stopping distributing D&D books. This isn't to say that D&D and Wizards of the Coast are stopping distributing books. It would appear they are either going to go more in-house or use other distributors rather than Penguin. But Penguin's a big one, so
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I feel like they've had that Penguin relationship for a number of years, at least all through 5th edition, probably even before that. So
Yeah, I think
I'm a
so.
bit surprised, but
Wow, I wonder why.
I don't
It
know.
is confusing. They're big, but it shouldn't prevent game stores from getting their books.
Hmm.
But it is still probably a big hassle for a lot. They're now going to have to source another. So maybe there'll be a delay in getting new books and things after, because it looks like at the end of December is when this comes fully into effect. So there might be that after that, you may struggle to get D&D books for a little while all the logistics are sorted out, if they're not sorted out before then. Hopefully not. It looks like, and I know they've said in the past that Wizards of the Coast sort of see physical books as like a nice to have thing, and they want people to go digital and use things like D&D Beyond more.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I had to choose one, I know I love physical books. I have bookshelves filled with like physical copies of books. But for D&D, I really do like the digital versions of stuff. I find it a lot easier running games, especially now when we're running so many online. Getting everyone in to make characters where I can see them all in one place, it's much easier than having to email people and like either they have to buy a book individually, but I can, like, as a DM, I can share my like stuff with them on D&D Beyond, which is
On
really
D&D
helpful.
Beyond, right?
So
Would
they
you?
can.
Sorry, James. Would you guys ever be interested if D&D Beyond were just like, look, here you go. You pay 20 quid a month and you have access to everything.
Oh
Literally
yeah,
all
for
the
that
books,
price,
the
sure.
whole
But
lot.
I
20
know
quid a
that
month.
they
you
don't do that. Their
the whole lot.
subscription, so you pay a subscription fee to get certain perks, but then to unlock content in other
Yeah.
books, you have to buy that content separately. And I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was actually looking into this recently. Wasn't there once an option to only individually, sort of a la carte, buy races and classes?
still
That you
can.
can still
Yeah.
do
Still
that,
can,
right?
yeah,
Like
you
I
you
don't have
couldn't
to
just buy
purchase the
magic
entirety
items.
of the book to unlock
No.
No.
the giants that came out in Bigby's Glory of the Giants, right?
No, so if you wanted to just it's usually for the adventures, if there's like new monsters. So yeah, Storm King's Thunder, you can buy just the new giant stuff from that, or the
Right.
magic items that are specific for that adventure. But you don't need to you just don't then get the parts of the book that are the adventure. I think it's a good way to do it, and I know in the past where I've like found a magical item, because you can see them, you just can't add them to character sheets and stuff until you buy them. So I'll have bought like a pack of magical items from a certain book, because they're very cheap. It's like $3.99 or $4.99 in like dollars. So whatever, convert that to GBP is like £2.50. So I'm like, yeah, this is worth it. I'll buy all the magic items, and then but
Yeah.
I like D&D Beyond, and I realised that D&D Wizards of the Coast have sort of taken some flack for not being community based, but I think D&D Beyond is a really good community tool for your individual table as a DM or as a player, because you can share with the tier of subscription that I have anyway. I can share all the books that I've bought with all my players. Up to 5 individual games running at a time, but I'm very rarely running more than 5 games at a time. So they get access to all my stuff, and then in return, I get access to all the stuff. If your players have bought stuff, I know that quite a few of my players have started buying books on D&D Beyond because they like to have them, or they've bought like the dual, because you can now buy the dual D&D Beyond and physical copies of books. So then, if there's a book that I haven't bought and they do. So if you're like in a D&D community or you're just playing in one group, then it's great because then you don't have to shell out as a DM or as a player for all the books. You can sort of buy a book at a time. They release 3 a year at the moment.
I feel like it's more than that. We've gotten 4 already this year, right?
Yeah,
or we're at least getting because we're getting Planescape. We've gotten Phandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk. We had
Keys. Was that this year? Was that
Keys was this year? Sure, Keys was this year. Big Bees was this year. I want to say there was something else this year. I'm looking at my shelf right now.
Was last year, I think.
Yeah, Fizzbands was last year. I feel like there was something else, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot. I know. By the way, speaking of D&D Beyond, I did see a notification that said, "Now is your chance to claim the free Lost Mine of Phandelver starting adventure on D&D Beyond because after this." They are taking it off their website. Like it's not going to be available anymore. So, or maybe it will be, but you'll have to purchase it. Instead, the next sort of like free gift to get you into it will be Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. And which is great because I think I own that. I do own that adventure physically, but not digitally. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take it for free. Sounds good. I might be more incentivized to run it now that it's, I'll have access to it digitally that way. But like you, James, I find it easier to run a game using D&D Beyond's stuff, and especially if it's a pre-written campaign. Obviously, I have all in one tab next to the tab that I'm using to run a VTT. But to actually like read through the adventure, to sort of do the usual thing of absorbing all of it by reading it at once and then reading every specific chapter before you run it specifically, all of that I love to do physically because it gives me my precious away from my screen time, which I'm starting to value a little bit more now that I'm older, and also I love the tactile feeling of a book. I always have. And I'm also a very placement learner. I know where things exist in a physical space. So for instance, I actually don't like looking at digital watches because I can sort of process the time better by looking at where the hands are. And sort of understanding, okay, there's this much spatial relation between this hand and that hand. And that tells me I have that much space until I need to be at work or I need to do this other thing or until dinner time or whatever.
Interesting.
So I think spatially. And likewise with a book, I'm like, I don't remember exactly when this NPC stat block appeared in the book, like what it came after. But I know exactly what part of the page it was on and more or less how deep into the book that page was.
Yeah.
So that's why I like doing that, but it is obviously a convenience just having it in a tab.
I think for new players, building characters D&D Beyond is quite good because you get the drop-down menus and stuff, and you can't
that's the big
go
thing,
that wrong, and it's very easy to pick up where you have gone wrong if you do.
I was wondering, like, I wish that there was an option to just mass unlock all character creation options, not magic items, not monster stat blocks, just unlock every race and class and subclass, please. In one fell swoop. That way I can just do that one time, add it as they release or unveil more, and then make that accessible to all my players. But to have to like look and say, okay, so sure, you want to play a bugbear, but you want to get the Mordenkainen's version rather than the Volo's version or vice versa. Let's see if we can make that work.
Yeah. Or just buy them. Otherwise, you have to buy them all. So no, that's all the Penguin news. But Penguin news sounds so much more fun than
Penguin news.
Penguin news.
This week in Penguin news, they're still cold and they're still adorable.
They still have these tiny little tuxes.
The best dressed of all the zoo animals. So, actually, I suppose following on from that, I have had a chance to have a quick look at the 2D map function that they have brought into D&D Beyond now for online gaming table. It is super basic, but
I love that review.
not in a bad way.
Okay, all right.
It's especially if you're running adventures off D&D Beyond. So if you've got the adventure book, you can import a map directly into it, and then just import tokens. There's like a little token browser tab, and you can either add players, companions, or monsters into it. So it's all done with a fairly simple click of the button. It's got the search function, so whatever you need to get in there.
That's
is
cool.
searchable.
Where do you do this on their actual?
Yes, on their actual website.
On the actual site?
So, there is a tab along the top that if you are a master tier subscription member, I think, you can then click on it and it'll take you through, and you can select one of your campaigns on D&D Beyond, and then just go launch. It'll launch it in a new window, and you can add Fog of War to the maps that are already on there. I've not tried to add a map that's not already in the game, like a pre-generated one already. There is a generic sort of empty one, like you would have on like a wipe erase map that you get for physical games. It's essentially one of those that's like nothing on it. It just all looks like sand. So it's one of those. If you want to physically draw stuff in yourself. But I think there is the option to add maps that you've uploaded yourself. Yeah, you can upload maps. So it's pretty cool. It's got the adventures. It's got all the source books on there, so you can just open that up and select from those. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's got both the DM version of the map and the player version of the map. You can put down and reference back to, so you can have a tab open, I suppose, with both as a DM, one for the players and one for you, to make your reference and know what floor and areas everything's coded towards. It seems interesting. I will have to at some point. It'll probably not be a Roll Dark game because I'm so invested in Roll20. But in a personal game, I will try using the maps, or get some friends to test it with me to see sort of what the full capabilities of it are. Because by myself, it's hard to see what other people see going into it. But yeah, no, it seems promising. They have stressed that it is nothing to do with the 3D virtual tabletop that they announced, which is based in the Unreal Engine.
I see. Very different. Okay.
It is, yeah. So they've decided to do this to sort of separate between this, that, and this. So fans who prefer this kind of game with a flat map and maybe a little bit more control are happy, while continuing to develop the 3D VTT on top of it as well.
Cool.
Sounds
really interesting.
Do we know what the 3D VTT is going to look like yet? Is there any kind of...
They released a video a while ago that looked awesome. I'll be honest, I'm psyched for it.
Yeah, that was the one that we talked about last week that sort of looked like Dwarven Forge built out, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to, oh god, what's the one that you can get on Steam?
Dungeon Alchemist.
Yeah, Dungeon Alchemist.
Sure. Yeah, it sort of like procedurally generates rooms for you. And that looks sick. I'm pretty sure my PC could run it, and I'm tempted to try it to generate maps. But then I really like doing it all myself rather than just popping into existence. But it does look cool. And if I was using a 3D tabletop, and because you can export it in 3D, if it lets you do that and bring it over from stuff like that, then I would probably get it to use in the D&D Beyond 3D tabletop.
True.
Then if you put minis in and stuff,
that feels like it's a bit of a shot in the dark that'll work.
Yeah, I don't think that will be the case.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be cool if they did.
Yeah,
so,
they would.
Wizards,
cool.
If you're listening, which I know you definitely are.
They take us very seriously at Wizards.
Obviously.
Us specifically, not D&D players in general. But
they have meetings about this podcast every week.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, we
100%.
did hear their episode last week. Yeah. What are we going to do about that?
They've got like a whiteboard where they've got like tales from the tables, and they've got like bits of string tied to like faces of dinners, and like black and white, cleaning this house with like sunglasses on, being like, "This is our target. This is the guy who says he's going to use the thing." We're gonna...
I think I did just see someone move past your window, James. So yeah, it might be Chris Perkins.
Oh my god.
They found me.
Oh Christ! Oh God!
Oh dear. So, what new book releases will be supported with the new maps tool? So, all new book releases and digital drops that have maps will be supported in maps. We will also start backfilling our existing catalog with official map support. So, at the moment, the ones I can see in there, and I think it's because I purchased them, are Keys from the Golden Vault and the Giants ones from Big B's. God, the Giants, that one.
Glory of the Giants.
Glory of the Giants. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, that is it. So they have got I think a place on the website where you can check what's being updated next, and they will backfill. I imagine if they have any sense at all, the Barovia ones will start to be chucked in there pretty sharpish.
It would be smart of them.
The most popular one,
Yeah.
and I'd have thought that would have been the first thing they did. But
I would
hey,
love to see the metrics on their adventures and how many purchases they have of every kind of different adventure, because surely that determines more so than the community at this point what they plan on releasing and supporting and adding more content for and stuff. They obviously re-released Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
I'm still miffed that they didn't do like a special hardcover edition of that book, because I would have bought that coffin, and I already owned most of the stuff in it. I had dice, I had a Taroga deck.
Yeah, it was soft cover, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was soft cover, and it didn't even have like a new alternative art to it or anything, and they do that with so many of these new releases, and every book comes with an alt cover, and I'm like, how did you not do one for Curse of Strahd?
You know what you need to do, though? You need to sell a kidney or a lung and then buy the Beadle and Grimm's.
Box
set.
One day.
Have you seen these, Rob?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, they're
incredible.
What am I typing into Google?
They're like the
Beadle
Aston
and
Martin
Grimm.
of D&D books.
Yeah.
Look at Curse of Strahd.
If you type in that, you'll find the website. But
you just type in Beadle and Grimm, the first option that comes up,
like
$400 for the legendary edition of Curse of Strahd.
But the stuff you get with it is you get props, like custom handouts,
manually made maps.
Oh wow, this is
cool. This is a whole rabbit hole.
It's amazing. And I will never have the money to purchase it unless I get this new job.
Gold edition of Eberron.
Oh, I know that one looks really cool too. So many of them. Their Icewind Dale one I was looking at.
There's like a lovely map of the circus. The tickets for the circus as well. You can give.
That's right.
It all looks so cool.
I love that there's so much attention to the Witchlight Carnival itself.
Yeah.
When that's literally gonna take you maybe 2 or 3 sessions, and then the rest of it has nothing to do with the carnival. Not nothing to do, but
I assumed it was all in the carnival. Oh, that's
no. There's a portal in the carnival. Spoilers. Big deal. But there's a portal in the carnival, and as soon as you go through that, you don't go back. That's it.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That is
I mean, it's great, but I ran this for a group only once. I'd read the book and I thought it was really good, and I discovered very quickly that this is the kind of adventure that you need to have a very confident team of role players in order to get through it, because it's so non-combat focused. Yes, you can have combat. Yes, this is the first book that they touted as being able to get through it without ever having to actually have a combat. You can talk your way out of almost any situation in there, or there's alternative ways to resolve things. But the carnival itself especially is very theater of mind, very delve into the whimsy of it. You have to be ready to love a circus, love a carnival, in order to really get where you want it. If you go in kind of expecting just like a fun romp in D&D where you kill a few goblins and have beer and pretzels experience, that's not it. That's not what Wild Beyond the Witchlight is. It's very role play heavy. It kind of feels like it was made for actors in a way, actually.
Okay. I think I'd probably
Yeah.
quite enjoy playing it, but yeah, I can imagine, and especially as a starter adventure or new players, throw them in the deep end because it's not even. So that's what like the keys from the Golden Vault. You can avoid combat for a lot of it if you want to, but
Yeah, they're definitely.
there is
The books seem to be going in that direction. I think.
yeah, but like with a heist adventure, you have a framework of what you're working with. I feel like if you just say to players, "Oh, you're at a carnival. What do you do next?" or "This is what you see," it requires a lot from them to engage.
Yes.
There's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
like a pre-knowledge there or like a knowledge of tropes that they can rely on like they do with the Golden Vault, where like, okay,
Right.
there's not combat, but that's fine because I know what I'm doing. I'm hanging from ropes and I'm sneaking through doors and lock picking and like Indiana Jonesing
Mm-hmm.
one heavy thing with another heavy thing to make sure the pressure plate doesn't go off.
Exactly.
You get it, but yeah,
That's why I've always said I think the D&D formula works best with its namesake, fighting and dungeoning.
Yeah.
It shines in a dungeon because you are taking it step by step. You're working as a team. You're making active checks. Yes, you can have non-combat encounters or non-trap encounters in a dungeon. You can have RP in a dungeon, plenty of it, in fact. But outside of the dungeon, that's where I think it shows a little bit more of the stress on the seams. Yeah, it obviously still works. We run campaigns that are not only exclusively dungeons, but that's where the formula shines the most. Whereas outside of it, there's a little bit more of a struggle. You have to be more of like a, yeah, what do you do? What would you like to do?
Yeah.
People sometimes especially newbies in a game that they don't really know the rules to or may not have a lot of experience with, they'll say, well, what are we allowed to do? Like, what can we do? But and it requires a lot from that person. Be like, well,
Yeah.
it's a sandbox. Do whatever you want. Go to the tavern and order a drink. Go to the library and search for a secret passage. Go to the top of the hill and make friends with a hawk. It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
But they, I found a lot of resistance to that. They're like, and sometimes people are like, great, I can do anything, and they go right in. They delve into incredible things, and other times they feel like they need more of a guiding hand. All depends on your players, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I can't really imagine doing a game without a dungeon, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I can imagine it, but I think that you really test your players in a dungeon. You can really like test for their teamwork and how they can like. I think in a way, especially if you've got beginners, it's good to have a dungeon because it's a really what's the word I'm looking for? It's an easy to imagine situation to be in, and from there, it's a good framework to build out from when you start to build like a more intricate world. Because I think when you first play D&D, certainly with like when I've played with beginners, you can overwhelm them very quickly with details, and in a dungeon, it's very simplistic. You go, okay, you're in a room. This is what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
This, and this. What do you do?
Yep.
And then they can they flesh out the details themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The constraints of a room at a time, I think, is a huge help to that, and they understand what they're working with. Likewise, and I think that's why the tavern approach works so well, because it's one area, a limited amount of things that they can do in that area, and it's a familiar enough sort of real world parallel. Everyone has been to a bar. So people, or have fantasized about being old enough to go to a bar. So that kind of immediately puts you in that mindset. Be like, oh, okay, this is a semi-familiar setting with things that are slightly out of the ordinary. Like, it's not a regular Joe Schmo serving me my drink. It's a half orc or whatever it is.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Right. Yeah, but you're right, Rob. I think a dungeon is a great introductory tool. I'm not going to say all of my one shots have dungeons in them, but I think a large majority do. Or if they're not a dungeon, they're a dungeon-esque experience, right?
Yeah.
So totally. I have obviously you remember that the holiday one shot I run.
Oh yeah.
No Malone or
Home in the Known.
Home and Gnome. Well, we
Home
had
and
to
Gnome.
change it. It was going to be
Yeah,
Gnome
we
Alone,
had to
but
change it,
then
yeah.
there was a stupid
There was
Netflix
this
movie.
Netflix movie, wasn't there?
God
Yeah.
damn
And I
stupid
was-
movie.
back when I was worried that we'd get done for copyright. Now I'm just
Right,
like,
right. Hey,
fuck
we could
it.
always go back.
just
So we called it
apologize.
Home and
Just
Gnome.
apologize. Oh, sorry, we didn't realize.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if they find us, that means they're not doing very well. Whatever company produces
Yeah, right.
Home and Gnome.
yeah. Let's sue this like micro entity that's
Yeah.
that's literally run from a
We need
guy's
the money.
basement.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, you know they're struggling.
But yeah, the players and this one, by the way, in case anyone ever wants to play this with me, I love running this one shot. It's very Home Alone based, obviously tongue in cheek, and rather than you defending the house from bandits by setting traps, you are the bandits trying to overcome the traps from a very, very cheeky gnome who's still inside the house called Kevin McAllister. And you have to the doorknobs have heat metal spells on them, and D4s are the tree decorations that when you break the window you step on by mistake. Things like that. They're the caltrops.
Are you gonna run it this year?
Yeah. Heck yeah. Love to.
Cool.
I'll run it every year as long as I get people interested. Yeah.
What about a Halloween one shot? You guys interested in doing Halloween one shot?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to do a
Yeah,
Call of
bit of
Cthulhu
Ravenloft.
one shot or a Dread. I still need to get Dread. I got 10 candles, but that is an impossible one to run online. That would have
you
to
can't
be
do that online.
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah.
But
It would just all
might
be
do.
you in a room
And
with
with
10
candles,
candles. Be
and
like,
everyone else
are
is
you
brightly
scared
lit."
yet?
There must be a way to do it though. If you had the right software, you could make 10 candles.
I'm
Surely.
sure.
You just
Yeah.
do the
Is
I feel
there
like
a
it wouldn't have the
conversion for
impact.
it?
But yeah,
Is there a conversion for it on oh god, what's that Steam tabletop simulator?
It must be.
probably.
Maybe.
You could do it.
It's
If
called
you could do it
10
in VR,
candles.
it might work.
Yeah.
10 candles.
I think any other way, if you were just sat here like we
Online.
are now at our computers,
It would
even if
not
it was
work.
pitch black, you couldn't play 10
Yeah,
candles.
people are like on their phones, and you just see like their significant others moving in the background or pizza getting delivered. You're like, all right, well, now the mood is broken.
I did finally get my physical copy of the 10 Candles book come through. It took a couple of months to get it, but because I think they.
I just got the
on
thing I
demand,
backed
but-
on Kickstarter like 2 years ago, more I think. Do you guys know MCDM, Matt Colville's
Yes,
company?
yeah.
He released a really cool. So for those of you who don't know, he's a YouTuber, D&D aficionado. He's been playing D&D for his whole life, and he's a games designer. He's very personable and charismatic, and he has released this series of books at this point, Strongholds and Followers, and a whole bunch of others. But his latest one is basically tinkering with monsters and taking established tropes, obviously introducing new monsters too, so you have more content, but taking established common tropes and kind of making more out of them so that your goblin boss now really feels more like a boss, right? With special kinds of actions that he can take on different rounds and stuff like that. So the concept sounded amazing, and he finally put that through along with a whole bunch of other new monster stats. So I'm really excited to delve into that because he always releases good stuff. Yeah.
I think that's the only problem I have with Kickstarters though, is the lead time from backing it to receiving what I'm too impatient for that. I mean, Dwarven Forge is too expensive to back personally for me anyway. But that there is so many cool startups on Kickstarter. But I think by the time I usually find stuff that I would like to use very soon, and I'm like, oh, that would be so great for this game that I've got coming up. But it won't release until a year after that's finished.
Yep.
So we should wait. So yeah, I think it's good for, I suppose, stuff like books, or that I've seen some for the STL files for 3D printers. If you've already got a 3D printer, that you can then almost immediately get once it's finished. It's not a long lead time because they can just email everyone who's backed these files. And you don't tend to need to back with a whole lot of money either, because obviously the main cost there is going to be the physical printing stuff that you have to do yourself.
Right. The actual material. Do you have your own 3D printer?
I do, technically, but it is unused and I need to sell it. So listeners, not that I'm going to make a habit of touting stuff on it, but I have a resin 3D printer that I need to get rid of. So if anyone's interested, stick it in the Discord.
There you go.
Cool.
And if you're coming to Roll Dark Fest, I can bring it there.
Hey, a meetup. Look at that. It's all solved for you. All you now got to do is buy it.
It's a Elegoo Mars 2 Pro, I think.
Nice.
But yes, I don't have the space or, as it turns out, want to work with resin. I've decided that actually it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
I should have researched more before I
toxic.
impulse bought it, but like I was having a midlife crisis, so I bought one.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm always having those. It's literally like one a week. The amount of crap I've got in my Amazon cart is ridiculous. I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, shall I buy it? Shall I buy it? Shall I buy it? Shall I buy it? Shall I buy it?
Nice.
Shall I buy it?
Wait till Black Friday.
Yeah,
Oh, I bought
exactly.
it.
Smart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why
I feel like I need to spoil myself this Black Friday. I've not done Black Friday shopping in like a couple of years, and I finally I sold my car because I've moved back to New York City. So I'm feeling getting something. I don't know. I got to make it special. I don't know what it is, but
I think JC that the perfect gift that you could give yourself would be 1,000-year-old vampire.
1,000-year-old vampire. I've been hearing so many good things. You know what? I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. I think that would be, because it's a one-player RPG. It's a book. You've got loads of cool stuff that it comes with it. I think it would be because I'm like it's in my cart at the moment. Actually, I'm just
You're eyeballing it.
It's my birthday on Sunday, so I'm like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll give myself a little present.
Wow.
40
Gameplay can last from hours to weeks.
Yeah, man.
The storytelling game revolves around documenting the life of a vampire, relying on the use of dice to generate open-ended prompts, which the player interprets and records as experiences. That sounds so cool. That sounds like those old journal prompts.
Ian Livingstone and
yes,
Peter Jackson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
think so.
It was.
Yeah,
definitely. Ian
Pete
Livingstone.
Jackson.
It definitely was. You can get
the other guy started Warhammer.
Yes,
there was two of them to begin with.
Ian Livingstone. Didn't Ian Livingstone go on to do Warhammer stuff?
I don't think Ian Livingstone. Well, maybe. I know both of them are basically like they're like the English versions of.
But yes,
the Gaiacs.
There is a
Steve Jackson, not
Steve
Peter
Jackson. There you go.
Peter
Steve
Jackson's
Jackson,
Lord of the Rings, right?
Steve Jackson. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I get confused with my Jackson.
There is a Switch version of one of the games, like a video game version of the Choose Your Own Adventure book, where essentially you have to just choose from the options that you would in the book. But it's like 3D, almost like a board game tabletop that it looks like. It looks really cool. And the combat's like quite interesting. And it's like Return to the mountain, like something Skull Mountain or something like that. It's going to annoy me that I can't remember the bloody name of it now.
Is it? I know the Warlock of which is it? The Warlock of the Warlock of Hilltop Mountain. That's the first book. Yeah, it's the first one they did.
I have a box set of all of them.
I've got it somewhere.
Oh, I don't know what my parents did with mine.
I had to. Yep,
Nintendo.
Firetop. Thank you. Yes.
Interesting.
That's cool. I've enjoyed playing that, and you have like lots of different heroes that you can take in to do it, because obviously you will die a lot because you will make the wrong choices.
Oh, right. I see. I'm looking at screenshots. I see what you mean. Yeah, it looks like a 3D game board. Exactly.
Yeah.
With cards.
It makes a very satisfying little clicky, clacky noise as you like move.
Oh, nice. And it's on your Switch, which really is tactile too, which must be good.
It is. It's pretty cool.
Do you guys like Labyrinth?
Oh, I love Labyrinth.
Because I've got the Labyrinth RPG here.
But it's huge.
I've never. Big. You open it up and you've got your dice inside there, inside the page.
Oh, that's so. Oh, there's a slot for it in the book. How cool is that?
Little thing here with all these little ribbons and stuff.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
I keep meaning to play it because it is one player.
Please bring this to Roll Dark Fest. We gotta check it out.
Yeah, perfect first time player, easy to learn, massive 200-page adventure for you to explore. Oh, with your friends. Oh, damn. You need friends. Bugger.
Are we supposed to have those?
Don't forget about your friends.
Let me read the back. So, through dangers untold and hardships unnumbered, I have fought my way here to the castle beyond the Goblin city to take back the child that you have stolen. For my will is as strong as yours, and my kingdom is as great. Oh, I can never forget. I can never remember the last bit. You have no power over me. How can she never remember that bit? You know, in the
That's
film,
right.
she forgets it, doesn't she? So that's like their own bit. So how can she not remember that? You have no power over me.
That's
This is
brilliant.
This is Jim Henson's Labyrinth, the adventure game. Are you brave enough to face the Goblin King and defeat the Labyrinth? Within the pages of this beautiful replica of Sarah's book, you will find everything you need to explore the Labyrinth. Easy to learn rules, perfect for first time players. Massive 200-page adventure for you to explore with your friends. Special, I can't read that word. Orbulity. What's that word say?
Oubliette?
Sorry,
Oubliette?
I'm
Oubliette.
I'm dyslexic. Is that
It's a little blurry, but I think that says
Yeah.
oubliette. It's like a
Oubliette,
dungeon with access through a hatch.
Okay. Containing a pair of beautifully engraved labyrinth dice.
Right. So in
Toolkit
this
with
case, it's referring to
learning
the slot in
tables.
the book.
Yes. It looks pretty cool. I'm gonna have to give that a go.
That does look cool.
Yeah, I went to a kind of like one of those street fairs, but it was a big one. This was in LA about a year ago, and I found a book illustrated by Jim Henson, and the guy who does all the stuff or used to do all the stuff for Jim Henson and Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. The
nice.
the
Frank
name
Oz?
is Brian. I don't know how to say his last name. It might be Froud or Frood or something along those lines. Brian Froud. He was. I think he's still around. Actually, he's still doing this stuff. He was involved with the legacy of the Dark Crystal Netflix show not too long ago.
That's a shame that I only got
And
one season.
it was a book of fairies and like just his art
Oh.
and looking at some of like the mythology behind them, and it was gorgeous. It's this
Oh, wow.
coffee table sort of book, full of these very labyrinth-esque sort of drawings of pixies and sprites and brownies and hobgoblins and stuff like that. It was very, very awesome.
I do like a coffee table book.
Yeah, you've just reminded me. Actually, I watched the first episode of Encounters on Netflix. You know, the UFO documentary.
Oh yeah,
You
right.
guys seen it? It's just
No,
literally
not yet.
it's literally just come out. Well, the first episode's really interesting because it's based in Wales, and Wales is obviously still got its own language, its own Celtic language, and there was this encounter that happened in the 70s with these everyone seeing like these kids in a school seeing these alien spacecraft, these alien beings knocking around. There's a guy walking down the lane who saw this creature, was like, what the hell is that? And there's a family in a house like literally like 8 or 10 miles away that saw this giant creature outside their house as well. Well, they talk about it being aliens, but actually the folk that live there believe it more to be fairies. And because in
cool.
Welsh culture they still very much believe in mythical creatures and fairies in particular. And fairies aren't, and that the Welsh have a different relationship to fairies than what the rest of the rest of the world do. In fact, the rest of the world obviously see them as like little magical creatures, those kind of stuff. The Welsh see them as like malevolent, like literally like they're like evil creatures that cause all sorts of problems. Like this guy who was a farmer, he put his cows into a shed on the same night all this happened, and then he went to go to his shed that evening because he had a phone call from the guy the other farmer down the road being like, why are your cows all in my fields? And he's like, what? So he goes to his shed's empty, and all of his cows are in this other guy's field. And he's like, and the first thing he thinks is those bloody fairies.
Yep, bloody fae.
Hey, if your country's flag has got a dragon on it, then you got to believe in something.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
well, I mean, listen, we're going to be right on the cusp, right? We're going to be on the border of Wales when we do Roll Dark Fest because that's whereabouts is it? Why?
Hay on Wye, yeah.
Hay
so
on Wye.
They do consider themselves to be Wales, and everyone that lives there pretty much has a Welsh accent.
Welsh, right?
But it's beautiful. You should see it. It's gorgeous. A gorgeous little place.
Yeah.
They have like a book festival there, a literary festival there every year, and it's lovely.
Lovely.
Yeah, but I've been to the Manor Place a couple of times because a friend of mine had his birthday party there. Well, I think it was like 5 years ago, something like that.
Oh, nice.
And it's set in like a lovely grounds. Oh, it's gorgeous, really, really good. And the manor is like perfect for what we want.
And we're going in autumn. It's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
The fall coloring, the leaves.
November 25th.
Yeah,
November 25th. Yeah.
So,
we still have tickets available as well. By the way,
there it is.
It's available.
Subtle working that in all the way from talking about David Bowie and Labyrinth.
I think we've only got 4 tickets left. Actually,
wow.
I think that's all we have left. But
We gotta add some more. Get some more.
But they're
people in.
available. Yep, go on the website, Roddock website, check them out. www.roddock.co.uk.
Nice.
I've started buying minis for my players because
Nice.
otherwise they won't be
Nice.
delivered on time for me to paint
Actually,
them or
smart.
anything.
Gotta
So,
get on that.
why? Because I order from Etsy, which means that it's not like Amazon where they'll turn up the next day all sorted.
Yeah,
After
Etsy
it's-
takes like a freaking months.
6
doesn't
months to
Yeah.
get
Well,
anything done.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why so long? Like, do they not
know.
have like the stock there? Like,
I-
like,
well, I mean, it's
so I'll
all-
just order
a
something.
lot-
Let me just put it in this
It's all
box. and
handmade stuff, isn't
put it
it?
over there.
So,
Right,
like
right.
minis
Made to
that
order.
I'm ordering, yeah, it's made to order. The minis are made to order.
Right.
So,
Well, that makes sense.
I've got some cool monsters, and then some character.
You don't
some
want to
characters
talk about them, do you,
like-
James? Because that would be
I
a
don't want to talk about the
spoiler.
monsters, but I can talk. So there's like a dwarf fighter that one of a rune keeper dwarf that someone's bringing. So I ordered one of those, and there was an artificer, and I don't have any artificer minis, so I've had to order a couple actually.
Right on.
You guys say what you just said.
Artificer?
Artificer. Is it
What
not?
do you say?
Is it not artificer?
People say it
Yes.
differently.
Because my dad was in the Navy and he was an artificer, and that's what they
Yeah.
call it. They call him an artificer. It's
Okay.
like
No,
basically like
I
an
You are
don't
engineer.
correct. You are right, Rob, and I
Am
know
I?
that because I
Alright.
listened to the Terry Pratchett audiobooks, and it's the street of cunning artificers. But yeah,
Yeah. Do you listen to too much American television?
Yep. I also apparently
I blame every person I've heard say artificer before me. So
right.
yeah, artificer I think is the right word, right?
Artificer. Artificer. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I hear so many mispronunciations or people saying
Oh.
things differently in the
I'm,
game.
I'm dreadful.
You know that spell, it's
Aluminum.
spelled GEAS. Do you know how many times I hear different
GEAS.
pronunciations of this?
Oh, is it Gaius?
So the
Gates.
latest one, shout out to Sophie in my team game. She looked up the pronunciation just last week, and according to that, it's Gaish. Or no, I'm sorry, Gish. I think it is Gish.
Gish.
But I've heard people say everything like Gish, Gaish, Gaius. I think I've heard someone once say Jaish, and I was like, really? A soft G?
God, they don't make it easy, do they? Indeed. Do you know what I really appreciated when they started bringing out? This is how you pronounce this at the beginning. I think Descent into Avernus had it.
Yeah.
They said this is how you pronounce this word. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's really helpful because, I literally can't read. I read off memory, which is I know is like bizarre thing to sort of say, but
Have
I'm
you
very...
done the
Huh?
on D&D Beyond where you can do the
the
like,
little
it'll speak
audio
to
clip,
you?
right?
I do that. I
Yeah.
do that all the time. I'm always like clicking it, and it's like vampire.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or is half of those voiced by Matt Mercer?
They are.
Right.
They're
They are,
Matt
yeah.
Mercer,
Is
right?
it?
And his
Oh,
and his
brilliant.
and his missus as well.
Yeah. I knew.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
that
think
sounds like a
everybody's like
Keyleth if I've ever heard her before.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, it's both
Because
of them.
I'll sometimes I'll see it there and I'm like, well, I know how to say this, but I'm curious what they say it like, and he's like, basilisk, and I'm like, oh, that's Matt. There he is.
Do Wizards of the Coast own Critical Role?
No.
No.
There's a big
Just have a
yeah.
big relationship with them.
Yes. I mean, Critical Role themselves kind of treaded the line. Remember back in January when all shit hit the fan with Wizards of the Coast and everything else? They kind of treaded the line too. And I thought that was super brave considering how, quote unquote, deep in bed they were together, Critical Role and just Wizards. But they were like, hey, we support free gaming and we support free creativity and people's IP being respected and stuff like that, and we're coming up with our own stuff, and they launched it now. You can go watch their Candela Obscura, is it? Which I hate saying it that way, Candela Obscura. It would be Candela Obscura, pero
So is that basically their version of Dungeons and Dragons? Like they're an RPG, is it?
It's an RPG. Yes. I don't know that it's exactly like D&D. I'm going to be honest, I haven't caught up and I haven't watched, but from its description, it actually sounds a lot more like a sort of light Call of Cthulhu murder mystery-esque sort of system.
Okay.
In a way, have you caught any of this, James?
No, I haven't. But the sort of
looks like
murder
it is.
mystery, almost Call of Cthulhu-esque sort of vibe is what I'm
Yeah.
getting from it, but like a little lighter, a little less maybe deadly than Call of Cthulhu.
You have the role of an investigator. I think this comes out of their general love for that
Because they
system.
did do a couple of Call of Cthulhu games they streamed at
Yeah.
one point. Their cast. Now I did watch that, the Crystal Museum or something like
Oh,
that.
actually,
That
here
was
I've got an overview that pretty much sums it up. Candela Obscura is a new tabletop role-playing game that places you in the roles of investigators working for an esoteric order. In this game of gothic horror, individuals of varied talents are brought together under the organization Candela Obscura. You'll pursue strange occurrences and encounter dangerous magics, fighting back against a mysterious source of corruption and bleed. Candela Obscura is the first to use the Illuminated World system, a newly designed system that uses six-sided dice and lends itself to narrative, arc-driven play. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting. This sort of gothic, maybe a little less Cthulhu, sort of 1920s traditional vibe, and more kind of like
vampire, maybe
vampire sort of
werewolves,
esque.
ghosts.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
Victorian
still,
horror, basically.
yeah, it
Okay,
sounds
cool.
like Victorian horror crossed with like an X-Files type
Right.
deal, whether you're
Mm.
investigating for an organization. But
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
Taliesin Jeff, I feel like, is the one responsible for this, because he's obviously their game master or lore master or whatever the GM version of it is, and I'm really intrigued. I do
Yeah.
really want to watch it. I just need to find time, as per usual.
Is the game actually available for people to buy and to play themselves, or is it we just watching
You
them
know,
kind of promoting it?
This
like
this website I'm on says that there's a quick start guide and there's a video on how to play with a blank circle sheet, field guide, reference sheets. And here's the crazy thing. I think apart from the dice and some merch, I believe this is free. Because there's a button that says download now.
yeah,
And all
there
I
is a
need to do is
physical
put in
book
my
coming
email.
out
So I'm
at the
going to
end
try
of the
this
year.
live. We're going to see what happens. But yeah, how cool is that?
It says the full core rule book will come out late 2023,
Right.
but you can
Okay. So
start
this is
playing
like
today
a
with a
quick
quick
start
start
version of
guide.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have officially downloaded the 16.5 megabyte quick start zip file. There you go. Dated May 30th. So now we know when this was all prepared. This is really cool. I can't wait to start looking into this. But yes, Rob, I will also look into 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, because that also sounded awesome and something I would absolutely love to do. Get back to writing a bit more.
Yeah, I love that sort of shit. It's definitely on my list. I think I'm gonna give Labyrinth a go. I'm gonna give it a go tonight. I think I might see how I'm getting on. I'm currently reading the graphic novel All Star Superman at the moment.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Written by Grant Morrison. So that's kind of going through that, where Superman flies too close to the sun and gets cancer.
Oh,
And then
wow.
that's it's
That's a deep plot.
Yeah, it's a weird.
it's a very deep plot. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good book. It is a good book.
yeah.
I've
I'm
read
looking
it.
forward to reading that. Yeah,
Have
cool.
you, just jumping back super quick to the Labyrinth discussion, are you a fan of the Dark Crystal?
Of course.
Have you seen the
love it.
Netflix show?
Do you know what? I started watching it and
Mhm.
I just checked out. I just couldn't hold my attention enough.
That was my first experience through it. I think I watched maybe 1.5 episodes, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of not my thing. And I don't know how this happened, but I got back. Like I started watching it again. I don't remember if a friend told me to get back into it or something. And I got to recommend it to everybody here. It's phenomenal. By the end of it, I was so invested and so angry that there was only one season, because they really set up like you would watch the whole, revolution.
Okay.
I'm like, it's my dream that will one day get refunded and we can continue. The work that they did on it, there's a whole, I think, 30-minute or more special on the background work on how they actually did it and revived all these old, from the original 1980s film and everything.
Amazing.
It's so good. It's got a stacked cast. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it. Jason Isaacs, I think, is in it.
Isn't Mark Hamill doing something?
Mark
in it as
Hamill.
well?
I was going to say
Mark Hamill he does this Skeksis, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's the scientist. I want to say that.
Brilliant.
That one of the Skeksis. Keegan Michael Key is in it very briefly as one of the Skeksis as well.
Wow.
Jason Isaacs, I think, is the Emperor, so he's the sort of leader of them. There's so much talent in that whole pool, and not just the voice cast, but like everything about it. The adventure is really good. The story is really good. The way it pieces the story together up until the end. You obviously know who the Skeksis are, but seeing it from the perspective of the others is really awesome, and seeing how they slowly start to realize that they are being manipulated by these folk that they view as semi-divine, and how they eventually rebel is so awesome. So stick with it for 3 episodes. If you don't get through it by then you're probably not gonna care for it. But if you can make it past those 3, it's super worth it.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I'll definitely check it out. I actually used to make puppets years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I used to
You're a
make.
man
I
of
used to make
many
'em.
talents.
Yeah. I used to make them. I'll show you. I'm trying to see if I can find some pictures. I'm just scrolling through my old Facebook here, trying to
Nice.
find them. But yeah, no, I used to, yeah, I love puppets. I'm massively into like puppeteering and that kind of thing. It's one of those things that I've always loved, and I've always wanted to try and like. I sort of dabbled with turning it into a career, but there's just like no money in puppeteering whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's like it's a dying trade, unfortunately, which is a real shame because it's such a lovely thing.
Yeah. It
I
really
have always
is.
been
So
impressed
lovely.
about when we do this podcast, you manage to talk without moving your mouth at all. It's...
I never did. I've never done ventriloquy. I've never done that. Never been a ventriloquist. But let's see if I can find it. Oh, it's perhaps a bit too far back.
At the
in
Fringe,
time.
I saw a really good puppet show. I think it was called Bill's 44th birthday or something around that line. It was a silent show, only with
Cool.
music and puppets, and effectively like 1 puppet and like 3 puppeteers at most to do the other object work. But yeah, there is something rather beautiful about taking something and simplifying it down to a very interpretive level. So it was all silent, but it still told a very deep story, one of the deeper stories that we saw at the Fringe. So it was really awesome.
That's such a weird combination, but that's
nice.
really cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's cool. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through my old Facebook here trying to find these pictures.
Desperately trying to find photos of
Shall
Like,
we
there
do
is
a
to
tale
be
from the
here.
table in the meantime
Yeah,
while you're looking?
yeah. Why
Okay.
not? Go for it.
I've got a submission from Jordan's weekly Chronicles of Erin game. So a little story of combat prowess from last week's session of Jordan's Chronicles of Erin game in his own words. While in the plane of water, the party were pointed towards a sunken ship, likely located in the Sea of Lights, as part of an arrangement where they were to retrieve its treasure in exchange for a prisoner's release. The party, following their normal methods of approach, took a direct route into the damaged hold of the ship, where they were promptly ambushed by some Sahuagin lying in wait. Several rounds of combat later, and some additional sharks joining the fray, the enemies had been mostly defeated when the party fighter decided things were well enough in hand that he was going to open another door in the ship. Rookie mistake, fighter. This error led to him taking 3 tridents to the gut, several more stab wounds, and a guiding bolt on top of that all. A friendly greeting from the Sahuagin priestess and baron waiting in the next room. On 2 HP and with the panic setting in, the fighter bravely retreated so the party could administer some healing. Very nice. Realizing the severity of the situation, the dwarf bard chugged a potion of stone giant strength and took the front line to give the fighter some breathing space. A quick round of heals and a timely application of the haste spell, and the fighter was right back into the melee. Intent on revenge for the new holes in his stomach, the fighter laid in with his flame-tongued sword, hasted with an action surge thrown in, dishing out well over 65 damage in a single turn. Not enough to outright kill the Sahuagin Baron, but certainly enough to allow his allies to finish him off in the same round. I wish I could say the party had learned their lesson, but unfortunately, before the other Sahuagin and priestesses were defeated, another door was opened, and combat continues.
Nice. Nice.
Yep. Jordan, I think we can all relate.
Mm-hmm.
Being like, all right, looks like the party has it in hand. What's next in this dungeon? I open this door. Ah, you've activated my trap card.
But wait, there's more.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Brilliant. Well, I can't find any pictures of my old puppets I used to make, so I don't know where they
Put them
are.
on the Discord when you
I
find them.
will.
People can tune in and look at that. And then if they have
Yeah.
no context, they're like, "Why are there these just random pictures?" Of
Why
a
did Rob
puppet?
post
Yeah,
pictures
We
right.
can point them to the
of him and
These
podcast.
weird, like little fluffy things everywhere.
Mm.
But I used to love doing it. It was a real labor of love. It was yeah, because I spent sort of a good couple of years learning how to perfect the Henson stitch, which is basically what Jim Henson invented. This stitch where you could join two bits of fabric together and not see the seam,
Gotcha.
and that's what he did. But yeah, but I do love it. I hate the fact that Disney have bought the Muppets because they fired Frank Oz.
Yeah.
So
What?
yeah, so Miss Piggy isn't Miss Piggy's voice. It's some other dude. Yeah,
How did they fire Frank? How does one fire Frank
I know,
Oz?
I know. In the Muppets movie, they were like, I think he either had he had basically loads of creative differences with them with the new Muppets film that came out, and he wanted it to go in a different way, and they were like, no, 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 and they just got rid of him. It was just like anyone could do Miss Piggy's voice, but you literally listen to her voice in that film, and it isn't her.
Right.
That's not
You can
Frank Oz.
tell
You
too.
can tell straight
Right.
away. Yeah, you can tell
Oh,
straight away. Yeah, real shame.
boo! I didn't realize that.
Hey ho, there you go.
What
Yeah.
what year did that Muppet movie come out? Because I always get this one confused with a one I think that came out in the mid 2000s with what's his name from How I Met Your Mother? Jason something.
Oh,
I think.
Seagal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Not
That's right.
something like that. Yeah.
That's
Seagull.
right. Yeah. This is if you guys are into puppets, these are basically how you train yourself to be a puppeteer. Is you use these guys here.
Oh,
Guys.
how cool is that?
Hey, what's going on?
Listeners, you can't see, but it is essentially a pair of
Googly
puppet's
eyes.
googly
Yep.
eyes, attached to the back of Rob's hand now.
With expert hand movements.
Now listen here, okay? I'm just a guy who's doing a podcast now. I'm taking over. You guys are fired. Get out of here. Get out of here,
All right, let's wrap it up. We're done. Oh, Rob, no, come back. We need him.
I'm now the guy who's doing the thing.
Brilliant.
What you laughing at?
We need him as a recurring.
I told you to go away.
Oh,
What?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Get out of here, man.
Anyway,
Sorry.
it's been nice talking to you all this week.
Sorry, it's like I had these moments of madness where I just I love these things. They're so cool. They're like £2. And you just
That
stick
is
them on your
cool.
fingers
Brilliant.
and
Endless
then you got a
entertainment.
puppet. I know. My dog is terrified of it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
My dog is terrible because I've got some puppets at home still, obviously from when I made them, and every now and again I'll bring them out, and Tony just looks at them, and he's just like I can see he knows they're not real, and that terrifies him.
right.
There's
But
nothing-
he's
it's
like, but
me
they
doing it.
still can move and talk when
Yeah.
Rob does stuff. What
It's
is
so
this?
bizarre. Even if it's my voice, and even in my hand, if I do it with my hand, sometimes he's like that's. He just looks. It's like as if it's a
Like, what the
creature.
what is that?
Yeah.
What is going on? What's with
So
his
messed
hand?
up.
It came alive.
Yeah, right.
I've got this great pair of slippers that look like polar bear heads, and my cats are so concerned with them whenever I wear them around the house. I walk into a room and they're both
They
like,
put their little paws together.
yeah,
Like, we have
they
concerns.
hunch down, they crouched, ready to attack these two little polar bear faces coming at them.
Brilliant.
That's great.
So do we have any horror stories?
Okay, so I found one which is a bit of a horror story, but I think it has a good talking point, and I want to get your opinions
Okay,
on
sweet.
this, as I always do. So this is from Reddit, from the D&D Horror Stories subreddit. Question about an overheard argument at the gaming store's TTRPG night. So last night, my table was taking a break so we could run out and get dinner from the local fast food joints. I was in the first group leaving and was one of the first ones back and was just sitting there eating and making sure our stuff didn't walk away from the table without us when I heard some arguing. It turns out that this player was accused of metagaming because he knew what a certain monster was. I never did find out what exactly the critter in question was, but since this was a new campaign started at level 1, I'm assuming that it was a pretty low CR monster. DM was screaming that he would have never seen the creature before, but the player countered with, I fought one in my backstory that you approved. Now, I know how I'd have handled that. I might have said, isn't that metagaming to know about the critter? But as soon as they said it was in the backstory I approved of, I'd have shrugged and said, oh, okay, fair enough. And left it at that instead of turning it into a 15-minute heated argument that ended with the table breaking up for the evening. So I'm curious how y'all would handle a character with an encounter with a monster in one's backstory. End of post.
I mean, you just if it's in the backstory and I've approved it,
Then
you
it's
know
your
about
fault
it.
for
Then
not
it's my
remembering and
fault
reading
for
that.
not remembering. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, totally.
but I think the metagaming isn't necessarily limited to just at the table. What about if, for instance, you've heard that there are goblins in Lost Mines of Phandelver? And spoilers, there's goblins in Lost Mine of Phandelver, everybody. If you didn't know that, or there's dragons in Dungeons and Dragons, but whatever.
Yeah, right.
And then your backstory is specifically crafted to, like, make a ranger that knows the ins and outs of absolutely every goblin ever. Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think in a way, I think as a DM, if it depends on obviously the DM, but I think if you're a DM that is very much a story focused DM and you really want to bring the narrative to life and that's what your sort of your focus is, then if you have a player that does that, you really need to kind of communicate to them and explain to them, look, what you're doing is you're effectively breaking out of that story element. You're creating a character that is just going to be great at everything and just be able to just go in, kill all the goblins, and be really powerful and amazing, and then it's the end. It's like a story is about conflict, and it's about overcoming like against odds that are often considered to be impossible odds that are like, how do we solve this problem? That's what keeps you engaged in a story.
Right.
It's like whenever if you just watch the story where the hero just turns up, kills everybody, it's the end. You'd be like, that was really boring and crap.
That was boring. Yeah.
Yeah,
The only problem I have is with the ranger thing. If you are playing a ranger, you get to choose an enemy that you are strong against, and there is absolutely no point choosing an enemy that you will never face in adventure. So if you're playing Lost Mines of Phandelver, I feel like assuming there might be goblins, choosing goblins isn't necessarily metagaming. It's making a practical choice. Because sure, you could take giants, but then you're just kneecapping yourself rather than.
Right.
It's almost it's a metagaming as well. If you're like, well, I can't choose goblins because then I'll be overpowered. They wouldn't let you choose goblins if you were going to be overpowered.
If you're going to be overpowered. True. Okay, but let me pose another one. And not that I disagree with you, I'm just playing devil's advocate for a little bit. Not literally devils, don't worry. But for instance, let's say I am running a campaign that I tell everyone is kind of my idea of a prequel to Baldur's Gate 3 because it's got mind flayers in it. What happens when a person makes a character who knows everything there is to know about mind flayers and leaves none of the mystery to it? And I don't even introduce mind flayers in that campaign until you're already like level 4 or 5, right? What happens there? Or as and this is where I sympathize a little bit with the DM from this story because this happened to me. I had a player who I'd had in a couple of different campaigns, and he was joining an in-progress Icewind Dale game that I was running. And I was like, hey, as per usual, here's all the rules. You're obviously making a character with a higher level, so choose a magic item. It can be up to, I think I said rare. You can have one rare, or you can have 2 common and 1 uncommon, whatever it is, right? And I always include subject to approval, but I trusted that player so much that I may have just sort of been like, yeah, that's fine, and not really looked at his item choices too much. And he chose a flame tongue greatsword, which is immediately like a massive. In a normal campaign, it's a good sword. It's a really good sword, but a lot of creatures resist fire. In Icewind Dale, where it can produce flame on command and heat on command, and it constantly deals fire damage to ice-based creatures.
Yeah. I can understand
that. Ripping through any encounters that I put down. Like the fighter is dishing out, I don't know, it's ridiculous. They're level 8, I think, and they're dishing out like 80 damage in a turn. It's insane.
My my dude, that's on you.
Yep. Should have been like, ooh, let's talk about that
'Cause
flame tongue great.
You can always take it off him though in the game somehow. Like maybe if he fails like a, I don't know, a dexterity saving throw or something in some sort of situation, that sword manages to
Disarming.
like comes off him and falls down a ravine and he loses it.
Yeah, I mean,
or
I'm also
something.
willing to suck it up and be like, well, that was my fault, so I'm
Yeah.
just going to deal with that now and scale my encounters accordingly. So,
Look, that is metagaming, but yeah, it was one of those things where it was also subject to approval. So,
Yep. That's totally on me.
But and it's
I do read
yeah, it's
backstories.
metagaming.
I sometimes don't look at the
Yeah.
item inventory too much.
Hmm.
But that's
Sorry,
another
go ahead,
thing.
James.
Like with the ranger thing, if it's a metagamey a little bit, say choosing goblins as a preferred enemy for Lost Mines of Pandover, but if you can then work it into his backstory, okay, why are your preferred enemies goblins? Well, goblins killed my family, or they were always raiding my village, or my best friend was a goblin growing up and he betrayed me when we were in a thieves guild or whatever in the future, and blah blah blah.
I'm already invested.
Then it's good. You can like work it into the story and sort of get the player more invested that way and use it to drive the story forward as well.
Yeah.
As not just it be like a throwaway metagaming thing. Oh, well, that'll be useful, so I guess I'll just pick them. Like find a way to work it in.
That is the correct answer. Make it worthwhile, and then on the DM side of things, then you can weave that into the campaign somehow and like bring that back. Maybe that, best childhood friend suddenly shows up and is the leader of the goblin pack that's attacking the village that you're trying to save. Or I'm thinking of a specific example from the first 5e campaign I ran, Curse of Strahd, and my ranger obviously specialized in undead, but he had already provided a backstory about it, how his family was overrun by undead and how the sort of the mayors of the town didn't do anything and in response to this undead threat, so he devoted his life to hunting them down and such. He saw them as abominations, etc. And I was like, ooh, this is a great morsel to say, hey, maybe that town mayor was a necromancer and he was the one responsible, and there were good reasons. And so I started to weave that into the Curse of Strahd narrative, and he made an appearance because it's Ravenloft, anything goes. Your past is suddenly here to torture you. Great, how'd they get here? Who cares?
Well, I've had like almost an opposite problem in a Ravenloft game, that the one that I run on a monthly basis for Luke and Will and John and Tin. And I'll do the rest of the names. The other Will and Ali as well.
There you go.
Where none of them picked a paladin or a cleric because they were like, we don't want a meta game.
Oh,
like, okay.
Oh, great.
God, I want that problem.
Okay, but like, the healing's limited now. We've got a druid, but but yeah.
I mean, well, you said it's a Ravenloft campaign. Is it specifically a Strahd campaign?
It is a Strahd one, yeah. It's Strahd.
All right, spoilers. And I don't know how far you are, but you could stack the deck if you want and just make their allied companion someone with healing. Their fated companion. I mean,
they've who have they found so far? Not Irina. The
Esmeralda.
Esmeralda, thank you.
My favorite. She's a badass. If you don't know Esmeralda from Curse of Strahd, she is the protege of Dr. Van Richten. She's a monster hunter. She's a Vistani, sort of their equivalent of the Romani peoples from our world, our society. And she has a peg leg, a +1 rapier, and +1 battle axe. I put her in all my games, in all my Ravenloft games, because I love the concept of her. She's just such a badass, and she can show up in any number of ways. And like, I was thinking about doing this for my next straw group. Like, if they need a healer, I'll just respec some of her spells to be more healing based. There'll be a bless and a cure wounds and a healing word, and now we're good. She can be part cleric. I'm totally fine with that. So,
great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else you guys want to add into this week's podcast?
No, I've got
lots, but we're probably
something.
Should wrap
we'll save it for next week.
We're up to an hour and a half.
I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, guys, yes, thanks for joining us this week's podcast. We've got some games coming up. As mentioned earlier, we've got a Halloween one shot that is called The Unseen Mystery at Stoneport.
Ooh.
And that is being run by Kenny, one of our newest DMs.
Nice.
That's on the 28th of October. It's a 4-hour one shot.
Cool.
We'll put a link in the description below. And also, we have coming up on the 10th of December. 10th of October, in 10 days' time. We've got a new campaign, which is a Call of Cthulhu campaign called Supple Weapons of a Silent War.
It does look really cool.
Yeah, so if you're interested in Call of
Cthulhu,
Cthulhu, that could be a good game for you guys to join. So thanks a lot,
Nice.
guys, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Take care. Bye bye.